Hello, everybody. Welcome back. In today's video, I want to get into something that I think is going to help you if you find designing anything for your business in Canva to be a slow, frustrating process. One of the biggest complaints that I hear from clients when I work with them one-on-one is they tell me that they like using Canva. However, it feels like a cluttered mess. It's chaos behind the scenes. They're struggling to find designs that they've created in the past. I used to feel the exact same way. My Canva was just filled with half-finished projects, untitled designs. There were inconsistent styles and templates. And every time I would show up to create something for my business, I would spend more time looking for the color that I used last time to kind of create some brand consistency. I couldn't find the fonts that I was using. I was struggling to find past designs so I could make a copy of those. I couldn't find where anything was, and it was a complete time suck every time I wanted to create a simple design for my business. I really started to hate using Canva, to be honest, and then I realized Canva's not the problem. The problem is I don't have a system and I don't have a good setup in place to make it easy and more efficient when I go to create designs. I was always having to reinvent the wheel, start from scratch. I felt like I was recreating the process every time I was trying to design something, and it was slowing me down and eating up so much precious time. After working with many clients and students throughout the years and having my own personal struggles with navigating Canva and creating designs in a way that felt simple and fast and efficient, I realized there are really three things that it comes down to. So that's what I want to walk you through today. I will share my screen with you. I will take you inside my own personal Canva, and I'll walk you through these three simple changes and setups that you can do in your business to help make your whole process of designing smooth, efficient, and a little more fun. Hello, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Krista. I am the face behind the Slow Creative. And besides being a business coach and guide for highly sensitive solopreneurs, usually in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, I also support them in Canva and teaching them how to use Canva in a way that is efficient, that's a little more effective, and that makes it fun and easy to create designs and visuals for your business. Your tools should feel simple and they should make your life easier. It shouldn't be stressful, and you shouldn't feel overwhelmed anytime you have to use a tool, especially if you're paying for that tool. If you're paying for a tool and it's not making your life easier, then get rid of it right away. So the first step in setting up your simple Canva setup is to create a calm and simple folder structure for your business. Having a simple and solid folder structure is going to make it really easy for you to navigate things quickly and to be able to refer back to past designs and know where you've kept things so that you're not wasting time looking for things that you've already created. When everything has a home, it becomes so much easier to manage and to navigate anytime you have to use Canva for your business. So here's what I recommend when you go to set up your folder structure. I recommend having a main top-level folder, usually named after your business. If you're just using Canva for your business, this step may not be necessary, but what I find is a lot of people are using Canva for personal and for business, or in some instances, I've worked with clients where they have various branches of their business where the content is different in both, which makes it easier to keep things separate. So if that's the case, you might want to have a high-level folder system with your business name. So in my case, that would be the Slow Creative. And within that, you're going to want to create subfolders. So take a few minutes, grab a notepad, start jotting down some ideas in terms of how you would like to categorize and group your content and the graphics that you're creating. So some common subfolders that I usually recommend my clients start with would be, for instance, having one called branding or branding assets, social media called templates, and maybe another called courses or workbooks. If you have specific graphics and visuals like an ebook or something that you're working on, there could be some special project folders that you're also creating. To keep it simple from the start, you can always refine it later. So now I'll take you inside my own personal Canva, and we're going to use an example of a demo account that I've created called the Willow Branch Studio to illustrate all of the steps of setting up your simple setup in Canva to make your design workflow a little more efficient and a lot less stressful. Okay, so here we are inside of Canva's home screen. And as you'll see, I'm actually using the Canva app, which I do recommend. The Canva app is another thing that's going to help create your whole workflow to be a little more efficient. It's just easier to navigate. It's easier and faster to jump between different screens versus when you're using the browser. I'll leave links below this video so that you can download the Canva app, whether you're using a Mac or a PC. So as you'll see on the left-hand side, you have your menu for Canva. And if you navigate to projects, these are where your folders live. So as you can see, I have lots of different folders set up. This is for my business. So I'll show you how you can create a folder. And once you're in here, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. I'm currently in the grid view, but you can also change it to a list view if you prefer. And I do have my folders numbered because I want them to show up in a specific order. You can also use emojis if it makes it easier for you to find what it is that you're looking for, or you don't have to do any of that and you can just give your folder a name. So in order to create a new folder, we're going to create one for my demo account, and we're going to call it the Willow Branch Studio, and I'm going to say continue. Now, as you can see, I have a new folder. When I click on this folder, I now have the option. I can create designs directly within this folder, which is what I recommend when you have your folder set up, or I can continue to build out my folder system. So I'm just going to add in a few common folders that most businesses would have inside of their folder system. We're going to call one templates, and we'll do one more and we'll call it social media. Okay. And we'll just keep it really simple for now. If you want to add in more folders, you can simply click on the folder and you can continue to add more folders. I don't recommend going beyond 3 layers deep. Otherwise, it gets too confusing and overwhelming to find what you need. If you're finding you need to go many layers deep, you probably need to create something as a high-level folder instead, so you're not having to drill down so far. When you have your folder system in place, you can start by bringing files that you've already created into these folders, which I will show you how to do. If you have a branding folder and you want to bring in some, let's say you want to bring in some images, headshots or something like that, we can set those up inside a brand kit, but you may also want to have them in here as well. So to add in new files, you would just click add new, and then you can just choose what it is that you need. You can upload files such as logos and images and that kind of thing. You can create a new folder, or if you want to create a design directly from within this folder, you would click on design. So let's go back to my main home screen, and I'm going to show you how you can begin to move some old folders into your folder system. Okay, so I have already created some demo things for this example. But if you were to hover over any design, you will get the option to have a checkbox or these 3 dots with a little star by it. One way you can move designs into the respective folders by clicking on the 3 dots, scrolling down and clicking on move. And this is how you can move things individually. As you can see, my folder is already there. If it wasn't, I can simply click for the name of the folder that I'm looking for. When I click on the Willow Branch Studio, I can go ahead and I can move this into my branding assets folder. If I click move, now as you can see, this shows me that it's been filed away into my branding assets. Let's say you're going through a whole declutter of your Canva, you're cleaning up your back end and you want to move multiple files or delete multiple files so that you can just have a nice, clean, fresh start. What I would do in that case is you can simply hover over all of the designs that you want to move, multiple designs, and you can check those. And when you do that, at the bottom here, you're going to see that you've selected multiple things. I can select up to 50 different things if I want to. If I click on move, I will be able to move these into their respective folders if they're all going into the same folder, or I can simply click on the delete button or the trash can, and this is going to delete these and move them into your trash bin. So that's a really quick way to just kind of manage a lot of files at once. This is a pro feature, as you can see, indicated by this little yellow symbol here with the crown that lets us know this is for pro users only. So hopefully that was helpful. If you find this view a little confusing, again, you can also change the view from your home screen to a list view, which some people prefer because then they can see things a lot easier. So that's it for setting up your simple folder structure. Take some time to navigate this, to set up your file structure in a way that feels really simple and manageable and sustainable for you. Okay, so step 2 in our simple Canva setup is setting up your brand kit. And I'm always amazed by how many clients don't even realize that Canva has a brand kit feature where you can easily pull your fonts, your colors, your logos, your headshots, and really any of the branding assets that you might need for your business into a design very, very quickly. And this is honestly, if you're going to spend 10 minutes creating something for your business in Canva, let it be this, because this will be the best 10 minutes that you ever spend. So often when clients show me the files that they're working on, this is an area where they're wasting a ton of time. They're not able to find past colors that they've used. Their designs tend to be a hodgepodge of inconsistent styling. They're using one style of font in one design, a different style in another, different colors here, trying to kind of piecemeal together everything they've been using to create some sort of consistency in their business, but it's just taking up too much time because they don't have their brand kit set up. So just a little disclaimer here, I am using the pro version of Canva. I recommend that most of my clients use the pro version because while you can do most things you need to do for most businesses on the free plan, having the pro version does speed up your workflow immensely. It allows you to access things in a click versus having to do multiple clicks like you would have to do on the free plan. However, if the free plan is not in your budget right now, that's perfectly okay. The free plan does allow you to add up to 3 colors in your brand kit. If you are considering trying Canva Pro, I do have a link below in the description where you can get a free trial for 30 days if you'd like to give it a go and see how much it does enhance your workflow and save you time. So before I get into showing you on my screen how you can set up your brand kit, where to find it, what to include, I want to give you a few tips before you start. The first one is, like anything, just start small and keep it simple. If you're on the free plan, you only have the option to upload 3 colors to your brand kit. And I do recommend taking advantage of adding in those 3 colors. What I find is when I'm designing in Canva, I'm not usually using more than 3 colors anyway, and to have those easily accessible when it's time to design is already a big time saver. The other tip is to only choose 2 fonts to include in your brand kit. I recommend a serif font for headings and a sans serif font for larger blocks of text to make it easier to read. If you want to get a little fancier and include a handwritten font to include in some of your designs, go for it. You can add in a 3rd font, but use it sparingly. And finally, remember to upload things like your logo, your submarks, include anything in there that you're going to be using often so that you're not having to dig for these things when it comes time to use it. So that's all the tips that I have for setting up your brand kit. Let me take you inside my Canva to show you how this looks. Okay, so here we are back to the Canva homepage. And again, if you navigate to the left-hand menu, you will see something called brand. So if you click on brand, then you're going to be taken into this screen. Canva has just done another update. So if you haven't been in here a while, things have moved. So to create a new brand kit for yourself, you're going to come up to, you'll see this bar. If you click on this little drop down menu. So I'm going to create this dummy brand kit, and we're going to click on create new brand kit, and we'll call it Willow Branch. I can't type. Studio, and we're going to say create. Okay, so when we're in here, the first thing you're going to see logos and colors and fonts, your brand voices I just mentioned, icons, charts. A lot of these things you're probably not going to need for most solopreneurs, and I don't use all of these things in my brand kit, but I do have logos, colors, and fonts, and then I do have a few images in there, which I tend to not use, and I don't really use visual graphics or elements in my business, but I'm going to show you how you can add these things in case they're necessary for your business. So let's go ahead and click on logo. I have already created a logo for this dummy account. So I'm going to click add brand assets, and I'm going to click upload branding assets. And I have my 2 SVG files here. So as you can see, I've got my logo, my main logo, and then I have a submark logo. I can go ahead and I can actually just change the name of these so that they're easier to see. And I recommend bringing things in with the proper name. When I was creating this, I mean, it was just for a demo, so I wasn't naming things, I was just creating and saving. But you can always bring it in and rename it later because it can make a difference. Again, when you're trying to find things quickly, if you don't have things named properly, that will also slow you down as well. So now we have that created. I'm going to move on to the next one, which is colors. And as you can see, what it's done is it's brought in some palettes based on the colors that were in my logo. So I can keep one. Let's say I'll keep one. It has multiple colors here. Chances are the colors in your logo are going to be reflective of your branding colors. You can go ahead and keep those if that kind of works. So I'm just going to remove everything for right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to say logo colors, and I'm going to add a new category, and I'm going to say add palette. And what I'm going to do is add a custom palette with my own custom brand colors, and I'm going to call this Willow Branch Studio palette. Okay, this is like the main palette. Now I have colors already that I have just for this demonstration. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the color. The actual little plus is going to come up, and then I'm going to get rid of the hex code that's in there, and I'm going to paste in the hex code that I have. If I want, I can give this a cute little name so that I know what it is. I'm going to click on the next one, and I'm going to repeat the process by copying and pasting the hex code, and I'm going to call this something else. And I'm going to do the final one here. So we have a few colors to work with, and bring that in, and we're going to call this one. Okay. So I have 3 colors in here for my brand kit. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to add in some fonts. So I'm going to bring my font in. And as I said, you only need a couple of fonts. I would just look at maybe the first 3. You can get into all of this. I add in I shouldn't say the first 3. Add in like your heading font, okay, and a body font. And then if you want to add in a third font, that's like a script. You can have these set up the way they are. This is more so if you're writing documents and things inside of Canva, which I don't use. So for me, I just want to have my fonts that I can drag them in easily. So you can add in your own custom fonts as well. And let's just do this for now. So I'm just going to add in this font. We're going to pretend that this is the font that I'm using. My subtitle, let's say I had Work Sans is going to be my subtitle font. I'm going to add the same font in again that we were using. What was the name of this? Noto Serif. So I'm going to click on the heading, and I'm going to add in Noto Serif, and I believe Noto Serif display. And I think it was the extra condensed. We're just going to go with this. Obviously, you're going to know ahead of time what your fonts are. I'm going to show you how you can upload your own custom fonts if they are not in Canva, branding fonts that you're already using. Let's just pretend I want to have in some type of handwritten font. I'm just going to type in handwritten and see what comes up. And I'm going to choose something pretty quickly. We're going to go with Brittany for now. I'm not going to change the size of anything in here. I'm just going to leave it all as is, because when I work in a design, I bring the style in, the font in, and then I'm changing the size in there. I can add a body font, the Work Sans. Now, if you want to add in your own fonts, you're going to click on this Add to Category button, and as you can see, upload a font. And then I can choose the font and I can find that font. Let's see if I have any fonts on my website. Let's just bring this one in. I can click on the font. It's going to say, do I have the right to be able to download this font? You would have either had to download a royalty-free font, like from Google Fonts or something like that. Or if you've purchased one from, let's say, Etsy or Creative Market, you have those rights, and then you can click Yes, Upload. And then now it will bring that font in for you. And now if I go to search for that font, Carla is not a font in Canva. As you can see, it has my font there, and I can use that font if I want to. So now we have all of our fonts set up. The next thing that you may want to do is, let's say you've taken some brand photos, some headshots, some photos that you like to use often in your Instagram posts or wherever. You can go ahead, you can add those in here. You can add in like graphical elements. So for instance, my logo had a little visual element in here, this little willow branch. And so I'm going to bring that in, and now I can use that in my designs if I want to keep that consistency and brand recognition. Icons are the same. If you're using icons, maybe you have a specific Instagram icon you like to use, or a little arrow or a play button. If there's certain things that you've designed that you're using and you want to keep that consistency and cohesion throughout all of your designs, you can create those designs, save them, and then upload them into your brand kit so they're always accessible to you. So that's it for setting up your brand kit. Again, simple is sustainable. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't add in too many colors. Don't add in too many fonts and overwhelm yourself with this entire process, or otherwise it's just going to slow you down. You don't need a complicated brand kit with all of these extra bells and whistles to create cohesion. You just need a little consistency with a few colors and a few fonts. Okay, so the third piece to this whole setup in Canva to make your whole workflow go smoothly and to be a lot faster is to create reusable templates for your business. Instead of starting from scratch every single time you need to create a design or some graphic for Instagram, if you've been scrambling through old files trying to find the last design you created so you can make a copy, creating a reusable template for your business is going to save you a ton of time. So before we get into it, and before I show you how to create some reusable templates for your business, I want to give you some tips to help you work with templates so that you can keep it simple and you're not overwhelming yourself with the many, many, many options that are available to you in Canva. So the first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to spend some time looking for some templates that you like. Of course, you can create templates for your business from scratch, but if you don't have the design skill or the time or the eye to create templates, then just start by choosing a template in Canva. They've already been beautifully designed by a professional designer, and all you need to do is change out the colors and the font so that it reflects your brand and business. And you don't have to overthink anything. You don't have to overthink any design decisions. Templates are there for a reason, so use them. I recommend narrowing your search down by some styles or an aesthetic that you know represents your brand and that you're drawn to. So for instance, you might search on the term minimalist or aesthetic or neutrals, for instance, to help narrow down your search for templates that are going to reflect the vibe and the style of your business and what it is that you're going for. Map out the types of templates you would need. So for instance, you might be creating reel covers and carousel posts and quotes for Instagram. Find the templates that you're going to need and then schedule an hour or so in your calendar so that you can go in, set up those templates so that they're all designed in your brand colors, in your fonts, designed beautifully for your business. So the next time you have to sit down and create something, you're just going to be making a copy of those templates that you've created and it's going to be so much faster. I do recommend maybe just not using the same template over and over again. You might want some variety. So you might have 2 or 3 different styles of each template that you want to draw from anytime you want to create, just to have a little bit of variety if you're posting on Instagram, for instance, or if you're posting on YouTube. You might want to switch up the style a little bit so that not every thumbnail or post looks exactly the same when you've published them to your platform. You also want to remember to name your template clearly so you know what it is and it's easily searchable. Hopefully you've saved them all into a templates folder, or you've saved them as brand templates, which is another way that you could do this so that they're just easy to pull into your design anytime that you're ready to create. Okay, so next, let me show you on my screen how you can create a reusable template for your business in Canva. Let's just say you are ready to create something for Instagram and you're like, oh, I want to create this really lovely quote from a podcast episode I've done, and I want to share that on Instagram. But many times when a lot of us are creating, we're in a hurry. So we come in and we create our graphic from here. We're not filing it. It's not named properly, and it becomes a mess rather quickly. So that's what I want to show you. Here's a template that we are going to customize for our business. A simple quote graphic that can be reused over and over for Instagram, and we're going to use it in our styling of our Willow Branch studio. So now that I have this, there's a few things I want to change. I might want to change out the image. I will change the font so it reflects my font. I might want to bring in a few more visual elements that I like to make it more reflective of it being a quote. There's all kinds of things that we can do. The sky is the limit. But before we do any of that, one thing I always recommend my clients get in the habit of immediately is if they're not creating their design from the folder where it's going to live, for instance, then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to say File, and we're going to want to move this file into its respective folder. So in this case, this is going to be a template, and I'm going to save it under my templates because I want all of my templates to live in one place. So to save that, I'm going to go File, and I'm going to say Move, and I'm going to find the templates folder that I've created. It's already here, and I'm just going to say move it into here. The next thing that you want to do is you want to give it a name. So often clients can't find their files when they're doing a search on Canva because they haven't named it properly. They haven't given it a consistent naming structure. So then it becomes really hard to find. When it comes to naming your files, you want to be very clear. Don't use short form unless you're always going to be using that same short form and you're going to remember it. Otherwise, just type things out so that it's very easy. We're going to say Instagram quote graphic version 2. Okay, so let's customize this for our brand. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I am going to click on, make sure that I'm on my brand. If you go to the left-hand side menu, we have brand, and I want to make sure that I'm on my new brand that I just created. But let's just take a look here. As you can see, I have all of my logo colors that I've brought in, and I have all of my branding colors that I've brought in. I've got the fonts that I want to use. Everything is here and it's ready to go. So this is beautiful. It makes it so much easier to do any designing. So for instance, if I want to change this text to my heading font, all I have to do is click on the text. So as you can see, I've clicked on the text box, and as I scroll down, as you can see, I have my Willow Branch studio here. If I were to click on my heading, it's now going to change that for me into my font for my business. Now I can do some extra styling in here. If I double click, I can click on this little advanced setting for the text. I can add in some letter spacing. I can increase or decrease the line spacing, and I can do a few different things. Let's just say I want to make this like an all caps and I want my quotes to always be in uppercase. I can just click on this and then that quickly changes it to an all caps. In my case, I'm just going to back out of that. I just want it to be lowercase. So now that's the first step. The next thing I want to do is I want to bring in, because this is a quote, I want to have something that represents this being a quote. So I'm going to go to the left menu. I'm going to click on elements. And as you can see, it's already experimenting in here. So I'm just going to type in quote, and it's going to bring up some options. So I'm looking under graphics, and I want to click on see all to see what is available to me. So I'm going to click on this one, and I like this one. As you can see, it brings it right into my design. And now what I can do is I can click on the color box, and as you can see, I have my branding colors in here, and I'm just going to change this, and I'm going to find a color that I think works. I'm going to just use the green so we can illustrate this a little clearly. I'm going to make this a little bigger, and I want this to be around my quote. So let's just leave it there. And I'm actually going to duplicate it by clicking the duplicate sign. And I'm going to just spin this around by holding that key down and I'm going to place this. As you can see, I have my grids turned on, so Canva makes this really simple for me to find the correct placement. I'm gonna move this a little bit so it's not so, let's go, I think I wanna have it about here. And I'll show you how we can fix this a little so everything is lined up. If you are not seeing grid lines when you're working in Canva, if you come up to File, and then you move down to under settings, if you just click show rulers and guides, it's going to bring in these guides for you. I definitely recommend whenever you're designing to add those. Okay, so now we have some quotes. I don't like this little swoosh and I want to delete it. But as you can see, when I click on it, my little quote element is covering up this swoosh. So how do I get to that swoosh? I can either move the element out of the way and I can click it and I can click delete on my keyboard, or a faster way to do this is if you're finding you're having a hard time selecting different things in your graphic, then what you're going to want to do is come up to this little button that says position. And as you can see, it'll often default to arrange, and I can just simply move things backwards and forwards. But if I click on layers, I can see that my quotes, they're covering up this swoosh. So I can just move the swoosh to the top. And now when I work in my design, I'm not having that same problem where things are covering up other elements on my graphic, and now I can just simply click delete. So the next thing I want to do is I don't need these little quotations because I'm already using some. And let's just say I'm going to bring in, we can actually just say like your text here, or I can leave in this quote because we're going to be duplicating this file and replacing the quote every time we use it. But just first, because I want to show you a demo here, I just have a quote saved that I'm going to be using. And what I can do is I can change, just kind of move things around. If I want to increase the size, I can do that. And if I want to make it a little more interesting, I'm going to add some visual interest and contrast by just kind of like drawing out a few of the keywords and then just kind of making it a little more engaging. So what we're going to do is, I think that this is, I want to make sure that this is where I want it. And I'm going to move this. I think that looks good. Just kind of eyeballing things here. And I want this to be about there. And so what I'm going to do, if I click on the quote and these two quote elements, I'm just holding shift down and I'm clicking all of the elements. I can now group these together and now they'll group as one thing. I can then resize things. It's a lot easier to kind of, make sense of your design when you group things together. So I'm just going to move these around like this. But I'm going to ungroup them so that I can easily change out the text for when I want to copy and make some changes. One thing you can do as well, if there are certain elements, let's say these two elements, these quote graphic things here, I want them to always be in the same place for every design. The only thing that might change is the size of the text. Maybe it gets larger when I have smaller text. Maybe it gets smaller when I have larger blocks of text for a bigger quote, for instance. What I can do is I've held down shift and I've clicked just the quotes, these little visual elements here. And if I click the three dots, what I can do is I can click on lock. And now what's going to happen is these elements are not going to move. Only the thing anything that I've left that's unlocked. So this can be really handy when you're working. Like for instance, if I have just, I don't know, let's just pretend that I just have this, for instance. And maybe what I want to do, because it's such a short, small quote, is I want to increase the size. And now I don't need to change these. I'm just working with the text here. So that's just a little thing that you can do as well to make things a little easier. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure people know what my website is. So I'm going to say Willow Branch Studio.com, or maybe I'd use my Instagram handle, double clicking, and I want this to be bigger. I want to increase that a little, and I'm going to add in some letter space. So now I've got this in my font that I'm using for my business. What else can we do? So right now, as you can see, when I click on this, there is an overlay on this image to make the there to increase the contrast between the text and the background. If this overlay wasn't there, it makes it a lot harder to read that text. So I want to keep that overlay there. But if I wanted to change it so that it was a little more in my brand colors, let's say I want to use this darker burgundy from my logo, it just kind of gives it a little bit of a different vibe and energy. So I could kind of change that out. If I want to say use it and I find that it's a little too dark or a little too light. So for instance, if I was using this pinky color and I click on this transparency little button here, I can then increase or decrease whatever I need to do. So you can play around with those as well. But I'm going to bring it back to the black, which is what I like the most. And I think I'm going to have it around here. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to change out this image. And so what we're going to do is I am scrolling through on the left-hand menu here. You'll see that I have a bunch of open folders that I use frequently. And I have one called Com Branding. And what I've done is I've curated a library of images that are on brand and representative of the vibe and style that I use in my business. So it's something that I recommend. You can find these photos in Canva or Unsplash, and you can upload them right into Canva. Or maybe you have a bunch of branding photos that you've had done professionally or photos that you've taken. Create a folder, put them all in that folder so that when you want to use them, they're all accessible and there at your fingertips. So I'm going to find an image. Let's try this photo. It's a pretty photo. So as you can see, the image has covered up all of my elements and the text that I had on this graphic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the position button in the toolbar, and I'm going to click on layers, and I'm just going to bring this below that overlay layer. And I do find the overlay a little dark for my preference with this new photo. So I'm just going to bring it down slightly. And I can, as long as the text is still legible and I can see everything, because I'm using a different image, I might not even really need this. I can actually bring this down a little bit more because I just very subtle is all we need. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to bring in a little visual element to put on this design so that it just creates some brand recognition and some cohesion. Maybe you have a visual element that's part of your logo that you would like to have as part of your designs as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left-hand menu. I'm going to click on brand, and I'm going to find the little visual element, this little graphic that's kind of part of my logo. I'm just going to resize this by dragging on one of the corners, and I'm just going to drop it as part of my kind of part of the bottom here. So I want to center this because it's out of alignment now that I've added this little element. So I'm going to click on the element, hold down shift, and I'm going to click the text, and now I can group them together. So when I want to move them or resize them, they will resize and move around together. So now I have this cute little visual element here. I can use this in all of my designs going forward if I want to keep consistent within my designs. This is how it looks. Sometimes what I like to do is if I'm designing, I like to click on this grid view, and then I can just kind of see it as a smaller image to see how well might this show up on mobile devices or on smaller devices. The text here still feels pretty clear and legible, but if I wanted to make any other adjustments, maybe just boosting up that transparency a little so it's just a little easier to see, then you can make any final adjustments that way. So I want to show you how you might reuse this template for your business so that you're not having to come in and design from scratch every time you need to create something for your business. So what you would do is you would navigate to the folder, you would find this design, you've probably had it saved in your templates folder, and you can either make a copy and start fresh, but what I often do is I will just click on the little duplicate symbol, duplicate this, and then I can just change out any of the text that I need to change out. I can swap out the images. I can change up the colors if I need to, but I'm only making minor changes. The overall design doesn't change. It's just swapping out text. You can do this for carousel posts, reel covers, YouTube thumbnails, PDF workbook covers. You can do this for essentially anything you're creating in your business. Then you have this really simple and seamless system to make designing in Canva so much faster. Okay, so now we've created a reusable template that you can use over and over again. So the next time you want to create an Instagram quote, you wouldn't have to start from scratch. You would simply go into your design, the template that you've created, and you would make a copy of that design, and then you would just replace the text and some images so that the process is a lot faster and a lot smoother. The other option is you could also save your design as a brand template, and then you can just bring your template into the design as you need it. I want Canva to feel calm and inspiring when you open it. The quickest way to kill your creativity is to feel frustrated and overwhelmed before the creating even begins. So your action for today is to map out what a simple folder structure might look like for your business. What kinds of high-level folders will you need? What types of subfolders? What kind of content are you creating on a regular basis that could use a little structure so that you know where to find things when you need them? The next step is to go in and start setting up those folders in a way that makes sense for your business, the type of content that you're creating, and the way that your brain works too. And then schedule 5 or 10 minutes to start moving some of your older files into those folders so that everything has a place and you know exactly where to find it when you need it. If today's video helped you simplify your Canva workflow and you would like more creative tutorials just like this one, then hit subscribe, leave a comment below, and ask me any questions or let me know what you found most helpful about today's video. If you would like more support with Canva, you can visit the link below. I have a new interactive PDF guide coming out, part course, part guide, called Canva Made Calm. And if you want to get on the wait list to be notified on when that guide launches, you can find the link in the description below. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope it helps you to design with more clarity and calm as you create beautiful, soulful visuals and graphics for your business. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.